So in this video, we're going to go through the process of creating this path for the spaceships to fly through. So let's kind of go through the process. Going to go step by step. Come along. So starting off with a brand new blend file, I am going to select everything. Let's just delete it all. File, I'm going to append my little spaceship that I've created. So I've gone to short range fighter exported. That's because it's on Patreon. Let's go into collection and Sci-Fi ship. There we go. So there's our Sci-Fi ship in our scene. Now it's referenced back to the other blend file. Now this is very common with the OpenUSD file format. So if you start moving on to that, start thinking about kind of like appending files. Sweet. So now we've got a ship. Whoop-de-doo. If we come over into render settings, it looks like rubbish. So what I am going to do is update the renders. I'm going to go from Eevee to cycles. Bam. GPU. Let's bump it down to 32 for the viewport, and I'm going to go 64. I always freaking forget, but I'm going to do it this time. The denoise, I'm actually going to change that from Open Image Denoise to OptiX, especially if you're using NVIDIA renderer card. The other big thing to make your renders super fast, change this to like 0.1, especially when there's going to be a lot of motion blur. Let's turn on motion blur. It's going to render really quick. Now, obviously, there is going to be some artifacts, but it's worth it. So from here as well, let's go into the world settings. I'm going to click on color, and we're going to go into sky texture. Bam! So now we've got this beautiful sky texture without even doing squat. Let's make it probably about 20 degrees. Put it a little bit high. Okay, we go 40 degrees. So we've got a bit of a blue sky. Lovely jubblies. Now for now, I am just going to use the mountain add-on asset library, just to kind of like bring in all the assets. So let's go into HD models. Feeling kind of lazy on this one. You probably can use landscape. I can't remember what it's called. Landscape something. And create a whole bunch of landscapes. But for now, these assets are already created. There is a link in the description if you want to use these. Let's click and drag the Grand Canyon. Now, these are HD ones. We probably don't need to use these. This is kind of like where you got to pick and choose. So we can see here, like from a distance, that is going to look gorgeous. But the thing is we're going to be flying through a canyon. We're going to be pretty close. And with these ones especially, if we come in close, we're going to see a little bit of artifacts, but that's okay. Yeah, let's keep that one. And I'm just going to kind of like fill in this whole section and just start placing these around. If you've done any design in Unreal Engine, well done, Marco. If you've done any design in Unreal Engine, this would be fairly common to you for world building. So what I'm going to do is just kind of like slowly bring all these in, and I'm going to build the world. Now, in terms of having things overlap, you can kind of pre-plan yourself around that is by thinking about where your camera is going to be. So for instance, obviously if we come in from here, the scene's going to look like rubbish. But if we're coming through here, we're not really going to be seeing that kind of like gap. So we can cheat it a lot. If you do watch the Star Wars breakdowns, especially Force Awakens, when the Falcon's going through the sand dunes, oh my goodness, there's just holes everywhere, and it's glorious. Sorry. You know what? I'm going to go through all this. Just give me a moment, and I'll be right back. And so I've gone ahead and placed a whole bunch of objects. We can see that we've got a nice path through here. Now I am probably going to change the sun angle back down. So if you come back into rendered mode, yeah, we can see that it looks a little bit yeah. So let's bring the sun down. Now what we could potentially do is if we come into film, we could probably turn the exposure down to like 0.2, and that's obviously going to make that look a little bit better. Let's go into the sun, into the world. We'll change this back. Let's go 5 degrees. So it's nice and low, maybe 10. Just have that little bit of extra light. Now, why have I done that? So in The Phantom Menace, back to Star Wars reference, when the pod races are going through, you've got various light paths shining on it, and we're going to kind of grab that. Now we can see that we've got some holes in here. I'm not too concerned about that. What we can do really is fudge it. And you can really see how dense these HD meshes are. We could have gone low poly, but whatevs. I am going to go just grab these vertices. Press O for proportional editing. And we can move you out of the way, sunshine. And all I'm going to do is press G to move and drag it over ever so slightly. I'm not too concerned that there is going to be warpage on this, because at the end of the day, because we're going to be moving so fast, we're not going to see it. I mean, in the clip right at the start, there was a stupid amount of warpage that you guys probably didn't even see. So we're just going to try and fill in all the gaps. Did we see anything else? Nice, there's a gap here, so we'll quickly fill that puppy in. Tab into edit mode. Oh, there we go. Go into solid mode. Select one of the vertices. We're going to wireframe mode. I'm going to press C to do kind of like the selection tool, like this. And then from here, we're going to go G, O, move it down eventually. If you do want to kind of like optimize any mesh, you can always use the decimate modifier. At the moment, I don't know what the vertice count is on this, but you can see that we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 objects. There we go. Press enter. Nice, and hopefully that is all we really have to worry about. Let's come back into rendered view. Just give it one quick final check before we start dancing. That's looking good. More than happy with that. Let's now start looking at the path. From here, back into solid mode, Shift S, cursor to world origin. I want to keep the origin of the NURBS curve in the middle there. So Shift A, curve. I'm going to add in a NURBS curve. Now, the reason why I choose NURBS curve is because I find that it does paths a lot better. Bezier paths are a little bit more finicky, but this is my preference, and you guys can pick whichever one you guys want. So from here, let's go GZ. I am in edit mode already. Let's go tab. We're going to go E, probably through there, I think here, and there we go. Where are we? Beautiful, this way. And as you can see, we're just kind of creating a very simple path through here. And I reckon we might even do a bit of a barrel roll here before we head up. Beautiful. And then from here, let's grab the end vertex. And we're going to go G, and we'll increase this one up as well. Now, the reason for that is because we'll probably start the animation. I don't actually, we'll start the animation. Maybe down here. We're going to just add in some kind of like variation in the flight path. The camera, I'm going to keep as low as possible because we don't want to see anything on the horizon. Just so that it's less work for us. I can press numpad, the period key on the numpad, and that'll zoom in on whatever I've got selected. There we go, something like that. Nice. Seems like a very good path for a ship. Now, if we want to attach our ship, so let's select our armature because that's kind of like the root of our ship. We're going to come over into the modifiers on the right-hand side. Sorry, the constraints. Let's go object constraint. And we're going to go follow path. And because we've only got the one NURBS curve, we're going to select that NURBS curve. We are going to go animate path. However, you're going to see that when we go through this, it is animating stupid fast. So to change the speed, let's click on the NURBS curve. Let's go over into the Bezier details, the path information. I'm actually going to bump this up to about 400. So it's about 400 frames in length from start to finish. The other thing as well is this resolution preview. I'm I'm going to bump that up to 64. Now what that is in between 2 points, as per default, I think it was 12. So that means it's 12 kind of like subdivisions. Bumping up to 64, we're going to have a much smoother ride. So that's why if you ever see animations that are kind of like janky going around Bezier curves, that's your puppy right there. From here, if we kind of scroll through, the ship's probably not orientated correctly, which is perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and select our armature. Back into the constraints. We want to follow curve. And it is currently facing the wrong way. So where it says forward axis, we're going to go -y. Lovely jubblies. What I'm going to do as well, just for now, let's go Shift A. We're going to add in a camera. I'm going to go Control Alt, Control Numpad 0. And then from here we go into constraints, add object constraint. We're going to go as a child of, and we're going to just pick the armature because that's our spaceship. The bone, we're just going to go the root bone, clear inverse, and that should put us there. So now if we go GZZ, it's going to zoom us out. We probably can realign this now. So let's just go ahead. The alternate way we could have done this is attached it to the NURBS curve, which actually might be a little bit smarter. So we'll get rid of that one. Alt-R, Alt-G to reset the rotation and the location. Object constraint. Let's go follow path of our NURBS curve. I'm going to go offset of 10 frames. So it's always going to be kind of like 10 frames behind the ship, which is okay. Beautiful. Follow curve. We're going to go forward axis is -y. Okie dokie. Let's just find our ship. There it is. Rotate that puppy around. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And then from here, we're going to have this nice flyby. So that's pretty cool. I like it. Obviously, the camera's going a bit too high, so with the actual camera, we're going to bring it down. But we're just trying to really find any major issues with the scene. Beautiful. So a little bit of artifacts from whatever this is. But if, for instance, we go now F12, let's just have a quick squiz. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. Now this is the first time it's running it. So what I really should have done is actually come down to performance and turned on persistent data. And let me just bring up the menu. Come on, baby. There we go. So you can see that's not too bad. Even though this artifact's down here, we know it's there, but we're not going to see that in the animation. These are a little bit annoying. So we might have to fix them up manually. However, let's have a look. If we go into rendered mode, I just want to make sure that I do have some of that light clipping that we were talking about. Because obviously here it's very dark. Probably here. Nope, a little bit further. Come back. So I want probably the ship to go higher than the actual path. There it is. Excellent. So we are getting a little bit of light clipping. Now, the other thing that we do now is we can't just rely on the animation of the NURBS curve. We actually have to do a little bit of animation. Oh no! So I'm going to select the armature. From here, I'm going to press I to set a rotation. And also, if we press the record button, it's going to record every time we do a movement. So if you want to stop recording, you don't want to record everything, turn it off. Trust me, you will forget. I still forget, even after 12 odd years. All right, so let's go rotate YY, because YY is the axis. And then we're going to probably go rotate YY. So he's going a little bit to the right. Probably from here, actually a little bit earlier. We're going to go rotate YY. And he's just going ever so slightly. And then probably here, rotate YY. Starts rotating back. Rotate YY. Fairly straight. Probably give it a bit of a rotation now. Rotate YY. And it is, yeah, this is all it is. A little bit more of a sharp turn. Now, the sun's to our left, so hopefully we're going to catch a lot of light coming through here. I can't see anymore. Let's go rotate YY. And then at this point here, it's going to start rotating back. I think that's probably a little bit too sharp. Let's go more like so. Yeah, that's an ugly keyframe there. So we can always select the keyframe, delete that one. And then hopefully we have a little bit better of a transition through there. Rotate YY. And then at this point here, we start turning to the left again. There we go. And then we go back to the right. And then it shoots up. And then you know what? For added effect, rotate YY. I think that's going to be a little bit too much. Definitely too much. So I'm just going to extend that keyframe to 400. Nice. And then if we kind of do a bit of a preview, how are we looking? I think that clipped the cliff there. Nice. A little bit to the right. Nice. Then we go left. Then we go right. That looks like crap, that last bit. Let's do an Alt-R. But I'm going to go rotate the other way. I think that's the other way. Oh, yes. That's probably a little bit better. Nice. So we go around left, and then we go right, and then he kind of continues up. I'll buy that for $1. Now the question is, does he clip the wing? He sure does. So we need to move that over. This is something I probably should have checked beforehand. So just move him a little bit there. So now let's go back onto this armature. The sucky thing is now is that the animation is a little bit longer. So we've shot ourselves a little bit in the foot. But that should be okay. So I'm just going to whip it around a bit more. And then let's go probably a little bit to the right. This bit here, I feel that could right itself. And we've got double keyframes now. So you can see how that we've got that big jolt in there. So let's go ahead and delete that one. Nope, that was the right one. Bring that around. Here, this needs to be spinning a bit more. Beautiful. And that's kind of like the, that's the path that we follow. Very simple, pretty easy. And now I'm probably going to do the same on the camera. However, the camera is going to be a lot smoother because it's a lot better for the audience. So let's go ahead. I'm going to redo that right now. Just create a separate curve. So if I do a Shift D, and I'm just going to call this our camera curve. Let's come over into the top. I actually want to, no, it's okay. We don't really have to extend it. We don't actually have to change too much. What I will do is especially, actually no, this one, yeah, we don't want to have exactly the same animation path. So let's kind of bring that in like so. Now we are 10 frames behind, which is good as well. We can always change that. We can animate that change. I am just trying to extend the animation a little bit. So the ship is actually going to be fading away as we go further and further into that animation. Beautiful. Let's select our camera now. Go into the constraints, change it to the camera NURBS. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually animate our camera. Oh yeah, the camera's going to be obviously speeding up because we made it longer. Okay, sorry, I stuffed up there. I'm going to delete 2 of our keyframes, actually just 1. Now I just want to make sure that we don't go through anything. Here. Wonder what that looks like. Let's just go. I just don't want to do an F12. It's good to kind of practice and just see some renders. Nice. That's not too bad. The camera's too high though. I want to bring it down because I feel like the horizon, we should be able to see more. So I'm actually going to bring it down. Okay, here. User, come down. Okay, lovely. I think you need to come down, you need to come down, and you need to come down. I just want to make sure that we don't clip through anything. Lovely. Now, what we do from here is we've still got the record option turned on. And I am just going to slowly come through. So our animation is probably going to start around frame 90. And we'll go to about 400. So there's 90. Maybe let's go 95. And then we've kind of got that. So from here, I'm going to start animating. We're just going to try and keep the ship always in the middle of the frame. And then what that's going to do is it's going to apply motion blur to our scenery. So this is where we probably could have gone the low poly scenery, like I did at the animation at the start. And I'm just going to quickly go through all this. So we've gone through and animated all the keyframes. So if we kind of like just switch through, it looks okay. But we want to preview the animation without actually rendering. So we're going to come over into the, the render settings, the output, and I'm just going to call this ship fly by 1. Why not? Now this is a really cool trick. View, view, and then view rendered, no. Viewport render animation. And what that's going to do now is it's going to render the viewport. Whole animation. Like that. Easy. Just give it a sec. And so now we can close that. Let's go into render, view animation. And now that's going to kind of like cycle through the animation, and it's right behind me. Of course it is. It's kind of like caching the animation. That is still pretty freaking quick. But it still kind of looks cool. So a bit of fine tuning. That first bit looks a little bit yuck. I think that bit there looks okay. I am actually going to come in and edit the mesh. I don't understand why these are here. I think these are just artifacts from the 3D scan. So we're going to go tab into edit mode. Let's make sure we go select that. Control L to select everything that's linked. Delete verts. Get out of here. And are there any other problem children? There's some off into the distance there. So let me just quickly clean these up. Probably the best way is just to select the mesh, tab into edit mode. I'm going to pick a vertice, Control L to select everything that is linked. I'm going to press hide, select all, delete vertices, Alt H to unhide, bring that puppy back, and it should be right. I think we've got a problem over on this mesh as well. So let's do the same thing once again. Control L. I can press Control I to invert my selection, delete vertices. Wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. All right. All good. Do I clean up that first bit? That bit there. Okay. Let's just see if we can clean up this animation right at the start. I have a feeling that this should be a little bit more like so. However, I think it's because we've got this massive kind of like cut across between this frame here. So I'm just going to pull that one a bit across. Yuck. Rotate YY. And we'll do that there. So he's already turning like so. That bit there. What on earth are you doing? That there. That keyframe. Undo. That keyframe there needs to go. I think we got to bring this keyframe forward a bit. No. We need to bring this keyframe forward a bit. That's a bit better. Now the other thing that we can do as well, we're going to keep the camera very steady. But we can, there's nothing stopping us from making the whole thing drop and move around and so on and so forth. I'm not going to mess it around too much. Just had a bit of a stroke just then. Then maybe we can go like that. Because now we've got kind of like that vertical flapping around. And then it's almost as if, you know, the ship moves around a little bit too much, but it's also moving around that horizontal, vertical, blah, blah, blah. I reckon we're good to go. And then, yeah, let's press render and sweet. Oh my, I haven't saved. Save.